Hey, rolling out. This is your girl, Crystal Jordan. And we always talk about relationships right here on Rolling Out. But today's conversation is we thought that Ready to Love was one of the most interesting dating and relationship shows that OWN could bring. But this season, The Never Ever Mets has people talking on social media. There's so much going on. This show has got us realizing that there are so many things involved in the dating experience that we had not talked about with prior shows on the network. And so I want to bring on the host of The Never Ever Mets, Miss Tahronda Jones, to figure out what is going on as we come to the end of The Never Ever Mets. First of all, welcome Tahronda to Rolling Out.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
And
you.
second of all, a whole lot of nothing ain't going on. A whole lot of nothing.
Well, first of all, I gotta say I'm loving this cut. I love that. That is so pretty on you. Beautiful. Yes. Yes.
It's giving Pam from Total.
You know what? It is. It is. It is. Okay. Throwback to the 90s with that cut. Very, very pretty. But I talked to you earlier before the season had aired, and I was trying to figure out, what would make people be in relationships with someone they had never met. Now I don't even care about that question, Toronto. Like, I guess, I want to start here. I'm just going to jump in because there are so many things that are happening within this house with the different couples. And one of the biggest things that we see is people's past trauma basically shows up as they're trying to get to know the other person, people's issues with themselves. Did you realize how important that having healed from past trauma was when you're actually attempting to date, someone of the opposite sex?
Just being healed in general, just maneuvering in all types of spaces when it comes to ships, business, partnership, relationship, companionship, any kind of ship.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be healed. I learned that. Shout out to my therapist, Love. I learned that with her helping me compartmentalize all the things that I was going through, it gave me perspective on just listening, right? Me being unhealed, I hear everything differently, which makes me respond to everything differently. But if I'm genuinely working on myself, working inner, so that my light can shine outward, I notice that I listen and I hear things differently coming from a healing ear. Doesn't go through one ear and out the other.
Right.
It goes in, it sticks with me, it sits with me. I'm able to compartmentalize what was just said to me. How can I react? I'm conscious about what I say. I'm conscious about how I respond. So healing plays a big part, not just in relationships, just maneuvering in life in general.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because a lot of these issues are not just because of it being a romantic relationship. It's just that's you, right? This is you showing up and you dealing with you. So there are a few things I want to talk about. The first, one of the couples it left, pretty quickly, Alexis and Dominique, and there was, this idea of there being domestic violence, which was difficult to watch. But I love the fact that you guys immediately was like, this cannot happen on the show. This cannot happen in the house. This is not healthy. And that couple, was asked to leave. Can you talk a little bit about how hard that was? What was that decision like to ask Alexis and Dominique right after, pretty much they got there to ask them to leave?
Well, first of all, I sympathize with Alexis, right? And there was things that I had said behind the cameras as well to her, sympathizing and empathizing with her. But like you stated earlier, OWN has a no touching policy. Because, things were being provoked, both of them had to leave. Not that it was her fault, not that it was anybody's fault, but I know I had a lot of comments of people saying, you guys let this go on. No. We have no control over how someone reacts. We have absolutely no control over that. But what we do have control over is how we create the environment. So if this is what's going to be going on, it's a no. It's a no over here.
Right.
So unfortunately, I would have loved for Alexis to say, but there would be no reason for her to say if she didn't have a partner with her. So unfortunately, we had to send both of them home. I'm not mad at the decision we made. I'm not mad at it, especially with the climate of everything that's going on today.
Right.
And the stuff that's going on social media. I don't condone violence. I don't believe in abuse. So it's a no.
Right.
And I think we did the best we could to be to control the narrative in that environment. But
Right.
what we don't have control over is somebody's action and how they react to certain things. I said, I wasn't there at that moment. When I did get there, gotta
Yeah.
go, cut it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think the viewers did as well. I think there's always going to be people that say things could have been different, but I think right now, anytime, it's important specifically for networks like OWN, that represents, Black excellence, to say we can't even allow there's no tolerance, no touching. I want to move past that because that was taken care of, but it's interesting because we know that abuse is not only physical, right? And so we saw with Sienna and Brandon that there was verbal abuse, calling a man out of his name. And I want to ask you this because, on our show, we recap the show every week and talk about it. And there were so many guys that were saying, when a man is verbally abused, we don't have the same response from viewers or from people. Society doesn't have the same response.
It's a double standard.
Yes. And so what do you think about that? Because not only did she call him the B word, she did a couple of times, she doubled down, and eventually, they did leave. But I don't think there was the same response from social media, and that is verbal abuse,
It definitely was. But I want to say to Brandon, give that brother his flowers for holding his composure. I know all men don't have the ability to hold their composure when it comes to the things that she did. But even in that circumstance, with me having to send them home, it was time, because they both were suffering. Y'all suffering at this point.
Yeah.
And there's no point of you condemning him and him condemning her. Y'all just suffering at this point. Y'all not benefiting from this experience. So everybody gotta go home.
Right.
You gotta go home.
Yeah.
And again, talking about that, unhealed trauma. Baby has some issues. I think baby has some issues.
Yeah.
And one of the issues, because I recognize it in me, not the verbal abuse part, but aggressive.
Right. Because you talked to her about that.
And I get it, but I think a lot of people misinterpreted what I was saying when I said you're used to doing everything on your own. And I use examples like taking out the trash. What I was, she's so used to leading that she doesn't even know how to step out of leadership mode to let a man lead. Right. And then Brandon, at one point, I don't think he gave her enough to feel safe to even let her know I can lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So him not giving her what she needed, her not giving him what he needed, because he need a subtle woman, okay? He needs somebody subtle.
Right.
Now, I know New York women are a little aggressive, but this was a lot.
It was a lot. It was
a lot. And I think it came from a lot of unhealed trauma.
Right.
And again, this is not me excusing what she did or what she's been saying. I just say that to say to the women and men who are dealing with some surface level trauma, get your together.
Right.
You think you can go in with somebody thinking they can. Here's what I say: you got to come in whole already. I know a lot of us go into relationships looking for somebody to complete us.
Right.
You got to come already whole, complete. The only thing anybody can do for Tahronda is add. All you can do is add value over here. You can't complete me because I'm healed.
Yeah.
I'm complete. The only thing you can do is add value. You ain't adding value. We doing a whole lot of math where we got to subtract, multiply, divide, or whatever.
Right, exponentially figure this out. But you know what? Let me ask you that, because I think I can relate to that. And I think a lot of women of color can relate to this feeling of always having to do everything on your own and always having to protect yourself. We see in the media, we see around that Black women are often not protected, but I do think that, like you told her, there has to come a point when you're not leading with that defensiveness, right? And that feeling. We see it not just in Sienna, but also in Millie. So this is something that a lot of women of color are dealing with. What is your advice? Just watching this series, it's really shown me like we have so much work to do, because we think that we're in silos, right? So I know I've dealt with that, or feeling like I can't let someone help me, or I've got to be strong and not. But what is your advice to viewers that are watching this, and I'm sure seeing themselves Maybe not to the extreme.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, no.
I've never doubled down like that, but we can understand that where it's coming from. It's coming from a painful place. And even with Sienna, she did admit that she doesn't feel protected, and she has always had to be that. And then we see Millie having the same type, almost like a repeat performance of that behavior. What is your advice to women that are struggling through that and don't really know how to soften up and how to allow someone even to love them?
I'm gonna go off my experience. I started leaning more into my vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And once I leaned into that, I realized my vulnerability is my greatest strength.
Mm-hmm.
So if you stride in your truth and your vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
I always say people let go, let flow. Just let it flow.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually what you are what you attract.
Right.
You are what you attract. Eventually that right person is gonna come along, and it's gonna come seamlessly, and it's gonna be effortless.
Right.
Just lean into that vulnerability. And you gotta learn. I know it's hard for us to trust, but it's okay to trust. And knowing that anytime something comes to an end, anytime, whether that's a job, a friendship, relationship, whatever that thing is, anytime it comes to an end, that just means God has something greater coming your way.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't never lost nothing I missed.
There you go.
You know how many, listen, you know how many times I done lost a piece of jewelry? I get mad in that moment, but when it's all said and done, months down the line, it's like I don't even miss it.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even miss it. I hate to use jewelry as an example.
No, but that's true. I just lost a Gucci earring, and I was like,
you know what I'm saying? You could be mad in the moment, but then you be like, okay, I came up on a Louis earring. What? Like what? I came up on something better. Mm-hmm. And then most of the time it don't even be that deep.
Right. Yeah.
It's all for the better. It's all for the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't lose it. You lost me. Yeah, I didn't lose you.
We weren't supposed to be together, and it's okay.
It's all alignment. But if women just lean into their vulnerability and really lean and hone in, mm-hmm. and just trust that whatever that outcome is going to be, mm-hmm. it's just meant to be.
Yeah.
And when I tell you it's the best experience, everything is all an experience. Mm-hmm. Whether we're going to live happily ever after or happily never after, whatever that is, whatever, it's all for the experience. Yeah. I would not know who Tahronda is had it not been for my pain. Mm-hmm. I would never truly accept the light had it not been for darkness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would not truly know how to bask in my joy had I not gone through chaos. Right. So the heartbreaks and all that stuff, we just be so worried about, like, oh, I don't want to get my heartbreak. I'm going to get you before you get me. Yeah. Get your experience. Get your experience. It's all growth and development through the whole process of you getting your experience, whether it's dating, marriage, divorce, whatever. Get your experience. Right. And know that whenever that thing comes to an end, there's always greater on the other side. There's always, it's not the end. Now, some of these couples, I just want to ask your opinion, because this season, I had no idea what we were in store for with these couples, because there's so much hurt, and there's so much unhealed pain from the past, specifically with trauma, that abuse, Jody's story is heartbreaking, because when we met her, she was very rude in my opinion, this is just my opinion, to Aaron. Very, very rude. And then when we learn you listen a little bit more, you kind of see where this is coming from. And it's coming from her having unresolved pain. And I think that she's been trying to figure it out on her own, but she needs some additional help. Watching these couples, what is your thoughts? Let's just start there with Jody and Aaron, because this has been a big topic over the last couple of weeks, seeing Aaron try, and kudos to him for trying to consistently respect her and take what she's saying and trying to be there, and understanding that she has been hurt, but also maybe not standing up for himself as much as he should. What do you think about just what we're watching with Jody and Aaron? Well, one, Aaron deserves his flowers, like you said, for sticking it through and being a champ through it all, and like really just trying to be mindful and cognizant of her feelings and of her boundaries. Mm-hmm. That she constantly discusses throughout the entire season. Boundaries. But I have a hard time, because I'm also a picker. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time like understanding if you're not ready, then don't waste my time. Right. I'm really big on wasting people. Don't waste my time. Mm-hmm. Because how long is this going to take for us to get somewhere? We not even like, I'm not even at the halfway mark.
Right.
We still at point A.
We haven't started.
We ain't even at A.5. We still at point A.
Start. We're at start.
And then if I like you enough, this is coming from somebody who, like, if I like you enough, he likes you enough to be patient and continue to make these strides when it comes to your boundaries. So if I like you enough, I'm gonna give you something.
Right.
Sister girl ain't giving him nothing.
Nada.
Because you don't like him.
Right.
You don't like this brother. And instead of you saying, you know what, I don't think, I don't know. And I feel like she's trying to be mindful of his feelings, but you're doing more damage sticking around than just letting this man go be the beautiful butterfly he needs to be. Stop wasting his time.
He definitely
talk about boundaries, but then when you see her dancing with the father, you don't like people.
I thought the daddy was gonna take his girl. I thought the dad, or even Chris, how she interacts with Chris, she's not disrespectful to any of that. But
so it's not boundaries. It's
not
just
boundaries.
Plain and simple. You don't like the brother. It's just simple.
When you talk to the couples, do you try? Because we see that definitely with, I think everybody in the house has called that out with Jody and Aaron. But there's even some other. There's just a lot going on. So when you see the couples, do you, outside of your job as a host, you be wanting to pull them to the side and be like, "Girl, this ain't like who do you want to have a conversation with?" There's a lot of, even Sandia and I want to reach into the screen and pull Sandia to the side and be like, "Girl, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna."
I'll say things. I'll give my feasible advice, but you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink it. I also don't want to influence anybody's decision when it comes to you deciding whether you want this person or not. I learned the hard way, dibbling dabbling in other people's relationship, and they gonna go back to them anyway.
Facts on facts.
All I can do is give my relationship advice and keep it moving.
Right.
You can take it with a grain of salt. You can take it how you want. But my job is to just simply give the advice.
Yeah.
Navigate them through this whole thing. But I'm not here to influence anybody's decision on who they should be with and who they should not be with. It's 9 out of 10, they gonna go home with who they go home with anyway. So I don't want to be the one. Yes, do I have my opinions? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But who am I to judge? Who am I to judge?
What advice would you?
I be a little stupid sometimes too. We all be a little stupid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We
all be a little stupid sometimes.
Absolutely. And
so
maybe
this is her experience. This is her experience. Remember I talked about that experience. Get your experience. Because I'm sure she's at home watching this and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna take for you to see yourself in the other lens on the other side to say, you know what? This was mad disrespectful. This was disrespectful.
Yeah, this was too much. But let me ask you this though, Tahronda, because it's interesting that, and we've heard this dynamic in the Black community before, that some men are just too nice, right? Or that, and it's interesting that in a situation we see with Jody and Aaron and how she's taken advantage of that. I'll say that's Christal's opinion. And then even in the situation with Sienna and Brandon and how he was very nice and very easy. And then we see Chris is very different energy. Chris is not putting up with it. He's going back, and that energy is actually respected more in some cases.
Broke that brother's heart, and he just gonna take it out on
women. On women.
Child. I think it's glorified on a men's perspective because it makes them feel superior. Actually makes you look weak.
Right.
Makes you look like a punk.
Right.
I think it looks more inferior to men because it makes them look superior, and it makes you look weak. When you look to the very woman who birthed you, who created you. We created these people. Women did that. I carried you.
Right.
It's disrespectful.
Yeah.
But the ancestors will deal with them.
It all comes out. Well, we are at a vital place. We have Chris's friend has visited and just talked foolishness up. We see Diamond and Aaron. Tahronda, what can you give her? What? Because I don't know where we're going. I don't know. This is the only show I have no clue.
So sus, I'm just here for the food. I don't. You know what? I think when there's a plethora of different dynamics in the house, it can just, I don't know, it make you crazy in the range. It is definitely a lot. There's so many personalities in the house. There's so much going on. I think some of that can influence a lot of their reactions on how they respond to a lot of things. Because I think there was a scene where Diamond was like, and I love Aaron, big Aaron, but I'm like, bro, you here. I need you here. Yeah. You way up here. I need you here. And when Diamond mentioned to him, hey, you didn't defend me. You didn't take up for me. I love that he like, no, you're not gonna say that. I'm not gonna bring you. And I was like, that ain't the way. That's not the way to do that, bro. You could have did that a whole different. Like the next time, hopefully there wasn't gonna be a next time, but we're in a house full of crazies. Maybe the next time something happens, you can defend her. You don't go in there and add more fuel to the fire.
Doused it, just doused it. Yeah.
He poured the whole tin can on the people. Okay, the whole tin can.
But I would even think as a woman, you don't want to send your man into battle. Like, there's
that's
just
not
so
all
much.
Women though.
Yeah.
That's not all women.
Yeah.
That's coming from a healed woman. I don't never want to compromise my person.
Right.
I don't ever want to compromise you.
Right.
I'll talk to you about it. Hey, this made me feel this way. I didn't feel validated in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it happen again.
Right.
But I ain't telling you go in there and go add fuel to the fire.
You blow the whole.
She stood there like, my man.
She did. She thought, but see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we mistake that for protection as opposed to actually the way that Brandon responded, the way that Aaron is responding is more protective than that false bravado.
Man.
Yeah.
Because when you go off the rails like that, I don't know what you liable of at any given moment.
Right.
Now, what if this was a dangerous situation and then that thing could have exploded and went left?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want a composed man who's going to be conscious about the decision he makes when it comes to protecting me.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to protecting me, I need you to be very wise and strategic about how you moving.
There you go. Not just beating your chest. Yeah. Absolutely.
I want a composed man. And that's the thing. We think loud and that ain't, that's not inferior to me. I'm more afraid of the person who's a little too reserved. I'm afraid of the person who's a little bit too reserved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, teach his own.
So before I let you go, tell me what did you, because you being in a healed place and being like the listening ear and the confidant to these couples, what have you seen that you want the viewers and the audience to learn from watching this experience? Because everything is an opportunity to learn.
Absolutely. What I want people to take, because everybody just think these shows are just fun-filled drama. Mm-hmm. Don't look at it as that. We actually bring in real therapists. We bring in real help to help navigate these couples. We also have activities that show a deeper level of intimacy, where it's not, because I think I saw a couple comments like this show was over-sexualized.
It's a lot of sex, Tahronda.
It's not sex, though. Y'all looking at it as sex. It's not.
The Kama Sutra positions.
But it's also, if you really listen and pay attention, we're teaching them how to connect on a deeper level. It's not all about physical touch. It's mainly about connecting and communicating. That's what we're trying to get out of these activities. Of course, sex sells, but I give it
to you. You gotta do a little bit to keep the audience in.
Yeah, but I think if you listen to how we break down these exercises, all we bring up is like we want to see if the connection is there and how are you able to communicate? How am I going to tell my partner this is what I need? Partner, I don't like this. Partner, I'm uncomfortable. Communicate that.
Right.
A lot of us, when we're uncomfortable, I shut you out.
Yeah.
I block you.
I think if you had couples, some of the when you're healed, then those exercises would be a lot more impactful. But I think when you have, someone like Jody who's struggling with her sexual trauma, then of course she's uncomfortable. Yeah, we looked that up. Yeah, that's what she says. That's what she says. But I think that's again her way of trying to fix it. But that's not. I don't know if you need a degree, if there's more studying. But I think she tried to that was her way of self medicating. And I don't know that she's an actual. She probably needs to do some more work on her before working on the sex part. I would think. Just seems that way. But in any case, you're trying to get through. You're trying to get them through. Is there anybody that you really are rooting for? A individual or a couple that you really, in the midst of all this chaos, want to see?
I think Josh and I ain't gonna say I think Josh and Shay were my favorite couples.
Okay.
They were really into each other. They weren't like too consumed with all the drama that was going on in the house. Every time you saw them, they like, we going to the boom boom room. I'll see y'all later.
Right.
They always dipped off doing their own thing. I think they were genuinely there to gain whatever they needed from the experience.
Okay.
So I'm definitely rooting for them.
Okay. Well, are you taking anything from this into your own dating experience? Anything that you've learned? Anything that you've seen?
Yes. Grace. Extending grace.
Yeah.
I know we talk about all the crazy things that the couples are going through. Not trying to throw shade at anybody, but even you extending grace to Jody and like, no, it is grace. It's always good to extend grace and not quick to judge and quick to point the finger and quick to look at. And I noticed that these couples, they were struggling with that. I can't say I love you if I don't extend grace to you. You know, when you talk about the word, God said, I'm a forever forgiving God. I'm a forever loving God. I don't care what you do, I'm still love you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you just get away with everything, but now I have to tap in and figure out, why did you say what you say? Why did you do what you did? And obviously we're talking about them being unhealed. So me being a healed person, now I can analyze and say, hey, this is it. This ain't it. And I'm gonna need you to understand where I'm coming from. So that I can understand where you're coming from. And that's where that communicating come in. So communication and grace.
Yeah, I like that. Well, we appreciate it. Tahronda, let people know if they haven't already tuned in. If they haven't, I would suggest they do some. This show has definitely delivered much more. We had no idea what to think when we saw this concept, specifically on OWN. Like, it felt like kind of like Catfish, but long term. So tell people when to tune in. And how many episodes do we have left before?
We only have a few. I think we got 3 episodes left, but you guys can tune in every Friday on OWN at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That is on OWN, and you can also stream it on HBO Max every Friday. The Never Ever Mets.
Never Ever Mets. And kudos to you, Tahronda. You had your work cut out for you, girl. Work cut out for you, but
I wouldn't have it any other way. Honestly, it's been a great stepping stone. But like you said, I've been learning a lot from these couples.
Yeah, we love it. Well, we appreciate it. It's been good to see you in this capacity, and we look forward to finishing the rest of this journey with you and the rest of the couples. But thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Make sure you guys tune in to the Never Ever Mets on OWN. I promise it will at least give you some conversation, and you can definitely figure out what you have seen before and maybe what you haven't seen. But I promise you're probably going to see yourself or someone that you know in some of these couples. It's a great show for conversation, specifically when it comes to relationships and dating. This has been your host, Christal Jordan, relationships editor here at Rolling Out. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. But like I said, check out the Never Ever Mets. We'll see you next time.